And good evening to everybody. Welcome to this another in our in-concert piano sessions with myself, Christopher Daigan. This is Saturday, the 24th of October, and I am welcoming you to our next live stream session. This is our live stream number 60. 60 live streams we have done since March, and it's great to be here. I'm very pleased you're able to join us. If you are joining us, if you're stumbling across this live stream purely by chance for the first time, please join us. Our music will start in a few minutes time at 6 o'clock on the dot. And this evening I'm playing a really exciting program. I'm very excited about the repertoire that I'll be playing tonight. To celebrate this 60th live stream, I've put together a program of quite brilliant piano music, pianistic composers, Rachmaninoff and Ravel later on, a beautiful first movement again of a Beethoven Sonata that I'm very fascinated and very always very excited to play, a very unusual work by the French 17th century harpsichord composer Jean-Philippe Rameau, and the first movement of the Schumann Fantasy. So lots of brilliant, exciting keyboard works for you tonight, and a very exceptional celebratory mood I hope to share with you in this evening's live stream. It's a beautiful day. It's been another gorgeous day in KZN, this part of the world. It's super humid. In fact, I think I might even have to put the air conditioning on later on, depending on how hard I'm going to be working, but I'm hoping you're going to have a chance to relax and enjoy yourself and make yourself comfortable for the next hour or so and enjoy the selection of music with me. It is 6 o'clock, so I'm going to dive straight into the music. So good evening and welcome again. I'm going to be start this evening's program with a composition by the French 17th century composer Jean-Philippe Rameau. Rameau composed a great deal of music for the harpsichord, all with very fanciful titles and very interesting names, and published them in suites. And from one of the suites in A minor, he writes this Gavotte, a court dance in 2 beats and a bar, with 6 doublets, or 6 doublets in French, or variations, you might say. So in the same manner that theme and variations later, maybe of Mozart, or the chaconne of Handel, which I've played, chaconne being built around a harmonic sequence or harmonic chord progression, but in this particular Gavotte, the melody and the harmonies and the chords are maintained, and it's a very beautiful and very clever composition by the composer. First lots of notes in the right hand, then lots of notes in the left hand, and then he comes up with this fanciful concept that it sounds like there's 3 hands playing, repeated notes, skips up and down the left hand, skips up and down on the right hand, and a very triumphant and joyful finish. So this is a very unusual work, but a lovely work to start this evening's program with, the Gavotte et 6 doublets by Jean-Philippe Rameau. robust sounds, very triumphant, grand, majestic tones there of the Gavotte and 6 doublets or 6 variations by the French harpsichord composer Jean-Philippe Rameau. I'm going to continue straight on with a very brilliant piece that I've played actually in last Wednesday's session, which was demonstrating and talking all about the aspects of the sonata first movement construction. I've had few people, chats with people about that. It seems to have been rather complicated, but nevertheless, I'm sure it was very interesting. I was trying to just show the various possibilities of how composers dealt with contrasting melodies and repeating themes in these melodies in different keys. So I'm going to play this piece because it's a really exciting piece of music, and I think it fits so well into this evening's program. And once again, this of course is Beethoven year, the year 2020 actually being the 250th anniversary of his birth. And so this first movement of the sonata, Opus 22, a very brilliant and outgoing composition. The first movement, which I like very much, almost as much as Lucy, who's already making an appearance. Hello, Lucy. Yes, I can see you. You are here. Come in your basket. Sit quietly. Sit quietly. Lucy obviously likes the Beethoven sonata a lot. Come. Sit in your basket. Good girl. And it's a very brilliant piece to include in this evening's program, really showing off something of Beethoven's young, enthusiastic, optimistic personality. He was probably no more than 28 or so at this point, and full of enthusiasm. He had studied with his teachers and absorbed from his contemporaries and was making his own mark as a pianist and as a composer. So this is the first movement of the sonata, Opus 22, by Ludwig van Beethoven. exciting music, incredible confidence there from the young Beethoven, and accompanied by our Hardie-Dars, resident KZN Hardie-Dars. I'm not sure what Beethoven would have thought of that. I think he would have had different accompanying sounds in mind in Vienna in 1800 or 1797 when he wrote that music. Yes, Lucy, I know that you're here. And that's sonata, the first movement from the Sonata Opus 22, as I say, one of my favorite pieces, and a very interesting contrast to see how Beethoven's music changes and how his style changes from the days when he was a brilliant pianist and a young pianist, performing pianist, as opposed to his compositional style in his later years. And speaking of that, that will be the theme of my program next Saturday night, when I'm hoping to include compositions by a number of composers juxtaposing exactly that concept, how their style of composition and pianism changes from the very early days and to the very late days that they write. I mean, for instance, Mozart writing pieces when you're 3 or 4 years old, quite exceptional to hear those. Lucy, you're going to have to keep quiet. Yes, I can see you there. I'm going to move on to a beautiful composition. Okay, I'm going to pick you up. Maybe you're going to stop barking. Here's Lucy. Lucy wants to make an appearance. This is little Lucy, for those of you who know, of course. Little Lucy, the long-haired dachshund. Look at the camera. Which camera do you want to look at? You've got to keep quiet now, Lucy. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Let's see what happens. I'm moving on to music by Robert Schumann. Now, Schumann composed this Fantasy. It's really one of his most extraordinary pieces of music, incredibly beautiful, heartfelt, intimate, and grand and intense at the same time. And he intended this piece to be sold, the copies of the original printed music, he intended to be sold as a fundraiser, part of a fundraising project to erect a statue to Beethoven in 1838 in the city of Bonn. And Schumann, not only expecting, and I think is somewhat inspired by Beethoven's music, he includes the quotation of Beethoven's song cycle on Die Ferne Geliebte in the first movement. Which is a very not so hidden code. I mean, it's quite a blatant statement. It's quite obvious, and also written at a time when all of his music is inspired by his love and dedication for the young Clara Wieck, his piano teacher's daughter. Brilliant pianist, and all of the music that he wrote was very much inspired and intended for her to play, I think. So even in the beginning of the piece of music, in the opening quotation and the printing of the music itself, he writes, includes a poem from the poet Friedrich Schlegel that says something along the lines of, "Throughout Earth's motley dream, there sounds a secret tone for those who listen." And even in that sense, he's hinting and he's telling everyone, in fact, that there are hidden messages. There's a secret longing and a secret message in this music, not only to his love Clara, but I think to everyone. And so I would like to play for you the first movement. This is a piece of music which I have been playing in the last 2 weeks, and I will be playing again tomorrow, Sunday afternoon, at my concert at the Tatham Art Gallery, a live concert, which is sold out because of the limitation, the limited number of people that are allowed. So it's a very beautiful work. It's got so many different emotions and moods which flow quite quickly from one to another. But this is the first movement of the Fantasie in C by Robert Schumann. And this evening, I think we took a pragmatic approach, you might say. Someone suggested, well, if we can't have titles on the computer screen, computer-generated titles, why don't we just write up a menu? And so we did that. I wrote up the menu of the musical item on the board, and I'm sure Barry, who's running the controls this evening, will be focusing on them from here and there, so that you'll be able to see exactly what these pieces are. Well, that was the first movement. It feels like I should go on directly into the second, which... But but which I won't. And the third movement, which is this incredible outpouring, this nocturne of intense lyrical lines, and such an incredibly passionate piece from the third movement. That was the first movement of Schumann's Fantasy Opus 17, piece of music intended to be as a fundraiser for a monument to the composer Ludwig van Beethoven, about 10 years after his death. And the statue was intended to be erected in Bonn, but also a passionate piece of music that Schumann would have written, as with all his music in the early part of his career, very much inspired by the longing and love for his wife. Eventually he did marry her, the daughter of his piano teacher, Clara Wick. And it's always amazing how, and I think there's something in that music, because Schumann was living with them at times, and often always at their home, and very much surrounded by her, and very much inspired by her, and yet unable to be with her, unable to marry her. So this relationship was forbidden for so many years. And I think having this person right in your presence and not be able to express yourself, or not be able to be at one with them, you might say, is something which is causing an incredible amount of turmoil in Schumann's music. And I think you hear that. I think there's that intensity of passion, but also the withholding of the moment that he seems to keep with you all the time. Such incredible music. I always think to myself, I should play Schumann more often. It's such wonderful music to be able to play as a musician, as a pianist. I often wonder if audiences find it quite difficult to listen to because of these vacillating moods. But I think that so far everyone I've played that music to has responded to it so well and been so enthusiastic. We need to hear more. So I'm going to move on from Schumann to compositions by Ravel and Rachmaninoff. I'm going to play a composition by Maurice Ravel, early 20th century composer, called Barque, a ship on the ocean, from a set of miroirs, or mirrors, set of pieces. And like Debussy, Ravel was inspired by the possibility of writing music that paints pictures, that is picture painting, in terms of creating a scene and a movement, and in this, the beautiful undulation of the ship on the ocean. Quite a calm sea at times, but also quite stormy. And I did play this a couple of weeks ago, and I heard it recently in a very beautiful film, Call Me By Your Name. And this piece is soundtrack for that movie. Unbelievably beautiful, wonderful film. But the soundtrack is so magnificent, and this piece is used, the opening bars of it are used repeatedly, again, like a motif that returns. And I thought, well, this is a piece that I must come back to, so it's such ravishing music. So this is Barque by Maurice Ravel. ravishing Ravel, I always say. It's such incredible music to play and such wonderful music to listen to. Incredible flexibility of music that just somehow sits under your fingers, almost sometimes too easily. But really wonderful music that I always love to play. Ravel's Ship on the Ocean, or Un barque sur l'océan. Now, directly after that, I'd like to play an Etude Tableau by Rachmaninoff. And so this is a picture study in the same way, painting very definite pictures, and I think something maybe even similar of a turbulent seascape of some sort. I haven't played Rachmaninoff's music, very much of Rachmaninoff's music in my life, but I'm finding that in recent months even, in fact even the last couple of months, I've been trying to challenge my preconceptions about how to play it and how to practice it. And instead of finding a quite muscular approach, which I've always taken, I've been trying to find something a little bit more subtle, a little bit more delicate. In fact, not dissimilar to Ravel, and trying to see if there's a way around, or finding the details and the more of the nuance in Rachmaninoff's music. And I seem to be finding bits here and there. So I am going to play for you the Etude Tableau. From the second set, he composed two sets, Opus 33 and 39. This is the first etude from the Opus 39 set. And then straight after that, to end this evening's program, I'm going to play the Prelude, Opus 23, number 2, a very brilliant and outgoing piece, I think one of his most exuberant compositions that I've been playing recently and practicing as well. You'll see it's rather difficult, rather complex. So this is an Etude Tableau and a Prelude, Opus 23, number 2. Sure, that's a big piece of music. One of us is working up a sweat here, and it's not Barry behind the controls, I can tell you. Although Barry's doing a great job, I'm sure he's working very, very hard. Thank you again to Barry for running the show again. Great camera angles. We've had so many positive responses about the camera angles, to be able to watch the hands at all the right moments and see what's going on. I'm sure you've caught the dogs and all the various setting that we have around, and that brings us, I think, to the end of this evening's performance. I've got a few minutes left. Maybe I will play something a bit shorter and lighter. As you can see, Rachmaninoff's music on a very hot and very humid evening like tonight is rather hard work, but I hope you've enjoyed the selection of very exciting and brilliant music to celebrate our 60th live stream number 60 from our Music Revival Online series. If you are able to support us, we're still fundraising for new computers. We thought we had a solution, but that hasn't come to be. So we're still trying to do that. We're still actually just depending on our trusty old Mac, which has got fans blowing on it and no graphics, just keeping it as simple as possible. But it's doing a great job because the image is coming through and the sound is coming through very well at the same time. So I am going to play, I've got 3 or 4 minutes before 7 o'clock. I'm going to play a little composition, Sparks or Etincelle by Moritz Moskowski. Short and sweet, light Sparks, Etincelle by Moskowski brings an end to this in concert with myself, Christopher Daigen, our live stream number 60, coming to you from our home in Pietermaritzburg, KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. Thank you for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the evening. I know we've had visitors and we have a number of people watching from around the world. I hope you've enjoyed the selection of music. I hope you are well and able to keep safe. Look after yourself. Please join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m., same time on Wednesday, for our piano hour, a selection of music from around the world, as well as some of our own compositions and improvisations, and another program of classical music next Saturday evening of music where I'm comparing the music of a very early composition by certain composers with their very late composition to see how their style and pianistic style and compositional style has changed. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you shortly.